Over here, you dingus!
Bonjour! The year is 2006. Joke about David Tennant. And, yeah, Mummy's Curse. The Girl in the Fireplace is written by Stephen Moffat. This is his second story he's written for Doctor Who in the modern era since the other stuff, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. And this is a retooled script. He didn't know he wasn't writing for the 10th Doctor as opposed to the 9th, and he didn't know he had to add Mickey. He did both anyway. Welcome to Doctor Who Exactly. So the thing here is, Stephen Moffat likes certain storytelling elements and they return quite often. And on the one hand, yeah, they're very noticeable when you're paying attention to them. On the other hand, if something is executed well, does it really matter what on earth we're doing? I mean, look at Pacific Rim, which is basically just giant robots fighting giant monsters. It's got Guillermo del Toro behind it, so it's a brilliant piece of media. I mean, not the best one ever, because I'm sure it has its detractors, but it's fab. So it does several things that Stephen Moffat uses later on as well. It has 2 time periods running consecutively, except one is faster than the other, The Girl Who Waited. It's got the Doctor meeting somebody at the beginning of their life and then becoming an important figure for them later on, like the Time Traveller's wife. It's got asynchronic storytelling, so that means that the scene we see in the beginning of the episode, it actually takes place quite a bit later on in the story. See also The Doctor Falls and Twice Upon a Time. Stephen Moffat likes his storytelling elements and some of them he uses quite often. Doesn't mean it's bad. The Girl in the Fireplace is a very whimsical episode. That's it. That's all I've got to say about it. No, really, this episode is just sheer fun. It's got a unique monster in the Clockwork droids who dress up like these French aristocrats, right? And they got these masquerade ball masks and these fabulous wigs. Originally speaking, these creatures were supposed to be just, you know, their faces covered in hair, so they'd be like robotic cousin It's walking around on the screen. I'm glad they changed up that idea a little bit. The Doctor takes Mickey and Rose on a trip, and he takes Mickey on his first trip in the TARDIS. They end up in the far future, somewhere 5,000, 3,000 years after current day and age argument. They find a fireplace leading to 18th century France. What's 18th century France doing on a spaceship? Who knows? The Doctor meets up with Madame de Pompadour, but he doesn't know she's Madame de Pompadour just yet. He meets a little girl afraid of a robot because there's a clock on a mantelpiece and it's broken. And there's a ticking in the room regardless. That's... whatever you say about Stephen Moffat, it's writing like that is clever. That makes you go like, oh, that's smart. Turns out this bunch of clockwork droids are preparing Madame de Pompadour for something, and we don't know what. And that's what they're building up the entire episode towards, like, what are these robots preparing Madame de Pompadour for? So the Doctor pops back in and out of her life because of the various time porters on board of this ship. While Mickey and Rose, they do a little bit of discovering and they break the first rule, don't wander off without the Doctor. They wander off without the Doctor because otherwise we wouldn't have a story in Doctor Who half of the time. So Mickey and Rose discover that this ship is actually part cyborg in a way because these robots, they're using human parts. Hello, deep breath. Stephen Moffat likes his storytelling elements that recur very often in his writing. So, here's the Doctor figuring out that these robot droids, they need Madame de Pompadour. They're scanning her brain. And what for? She needs to be a specific age. So they're just taking the quick path. So the Doctor and Madame de Pompadour, they create a very quick and essential friendship. She's quite the clever woman, because she was apparently quite the impressive woman. The reason why there's a fireplace in this that turns around is because she literally had a revolving fireplace to get away out of the room. Apparently Stephen Moffat read that once in a book about her. Yeah, in case you've never heard about Madame de Pompadour before Doctor Who, no shame in that, neither did I. I only know because of this classy lady, because of this science fiction show that the BBC put out. Thanks. So all in all, it's just a lot of hopping back and forth and then running away from these droids, and not even doing a lot of running, because these droids don't seek out the confrontation. They just want to get away. And then in one moment, when they do have Mickey and Rose trapped, and the Doctor waltzes in and he's all drunk, and he's like, "You're Mr. Thicky Thick from Thicktown, Thickania. So's your dad." It's just magnificent. David Tennant really made this role his own. He made the Doctor silly and really playful and, you know, just a little bit sexy. The Doctor hadn't been sexy before. I mean, sure, some of the classic Doctors must have had, you know, ladies sending them their undergarments. I mean, look at Peter Davison. But David Tennant, his 10th Doctor, he was the sexy Doctor. If there is a moniker that you can go down with the ship with, there's that. David Tennant is the sexy Doctor. Right, so the thing is that he's not actually drunk, he's just pretending to be drunk. He's got like this anti-oil and he stops these clockwork droids, runs away with Mickey and Rose, and they warn Madame de Pompadour about the clockworks coming for her brain. And this creates a magnificent little moment where she goes onto the ship and she realizes that a scene that we saw before the credits, opening credits, is happening concurrently. And she's hearing her own voice, so she knows the events that are gonna happen. So she has to go back and let them happen. So the Doctor saves the day by dashing through a big old time portal with a horse, and this instantly breaks all the spatial hyper time links. Boom. Because the story asked for it, and the clockwork droids just kind of give up. There's not a lot of menace in this episode. Like, I like the clockwork droids just fine, but they're not like the most threatening, most dangerous of all creatures, and they do have a body count, but it's like those crew members died off screen. It's not the most scary episode, and it's fine. Doctor Who can have several different variations of ways of telling a story, and whimsical can be done very well. Basically, this episode, no one dies on screen, and then we have Stephen Moffat, and then people always go like, "Oh, but Stephen Moffat kills a lot of people off," and then he writes a story like this. Yeah, the Doctor is left in 18th century France until Madame de Pompadour reveals that she'd brought her fireplace over from Versailles. And the Doctor uses residual energy and he tries to come back for her and show her the stars. And then she passed away at the early age of 43. And he's sad because Madame de Pompadour saw this Doctor for what he really was. He's putting up a happy face, but he's actually lonely on the inside. It's like, I don't want to harken this back to like it's a metaphor for mental illness, but it is one that you could draw a line between. Like, the way somebody presents themselves doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're like on the inside. So the Doctor and Mickey and Rose, they leave and they never even find out why these weird clockwork droids went through all the effort of creating ripples in time and space to get to 18th century France, as opposed to, you know, going to the nearest shipyard and getting the ship fixed. The camera pans out and we see SS Madame de Pompadour on the spaceship. That's a poignant bit of script writing right there. It's like the Doctor never finds out and the audience does. And I like this a lot. Stephen Moffat also wrote a follow-up story, I'm not quite sure if it's a prequel or sequel, about the SS de Pompadour, and Madame de Pompadour is in it, and it makes this episode even more sad of an ending. That's probably why this ending works so well, is because, like I said, this episode's very whimsical, and then the last 2 minutes is like, ha! Fooled you, you thought you were gonna have a feel-good episode, now you're sad. It's like Futurama and the dog. Yeah, it's the dog from Futurama, except Madame de Pompadour is not a dog. I quite like this episode. It doesn't rank up with my all-time favourites, but it's decent enough, and it's something I do like to revisit. So yeah, my opinion is like a solid 7 out of 10. I know there's people out there that love this a lot more than I do. And you can. It's pretty good. I'm not as smitten with it as some people are. So let me know in the comments down below if you disagree with a 7 out of 10, because, you know...
He was the doctor all the time.
People, internet, opinions, stuff. See you next time. Or maybe you'll see a different me. Dun dun dun. Bye.
Where do you think we are?